Trying to think, is there any last minute things I need to do with my waivers?
Who'd you put waivers in for?
Them receivers. I like Hodgins. Put him for Hodgins, Shark, Chris Moore. Oh, the tight end for the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to snag him as much as I can.
I had one league. I got one league where I got zero tight ends.
Really?
I got $0.
Because I need a tight end right now.
Okonkwo, yeah. The tight end.
Go try to snag
This
him.
would be the
Remember,
week.
like when I
Yeah, this would be the week.
Oh yeah,
too.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Because all the blurbs is basically that he got increased playing time.
And then if not him,
Burks
secondary that with Bellinger.
Bellinger gone in my leagues. I wish he was out.
He was
there.
available in quite a few of mine.
Yeah.
Tried to get Travis Homer, but he was actually scooped up in
waivers
quite a
done?
few. 9 o'clock, bro. It's 8:37.
Oh, let me check.
That's what I'm thinking. Is there anybody last minute I could think of? I try to make sure my defenses are ready for the tournament.
Yeah, man. Loading up on those defenses paid off this year.
Chris, I'm a little disappointed in this drink, dog. I thought you knew what you were doing.
sorry to let you down. Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine, late on the set, but he's here. So let's talk about getting ready for the playoffs. The first thing that I want to talk about, guys, is navigating this bye week. So many players are on bye for a championship weekend. I don't ever remember this many players being on bye for a championship weekend. We got JT out. We got Aaron Jones on bye. Christian Watson has been lighting it up lately. Same team on bye. T-Mac, yeah. Commanders on bye. How are you guys navigating so many players being on bye this week? Or as it's been called on Twitter, bye Mageddon 2. It's like, how are you guys navigating this?
I mean, if you really, honestly, if you weren't preparing, a couple of weeks before, you just shit out of luck. Hopefully, you got to kind of do like a late little scramble, but ideally, you try to set yourself up. And I know like there are probably, a couple teams out there where I didn't prep the way that I should have prepped, and now I'm looking at, an empty tight end spot because a couple of my tight ends are on bye or like injured. So, it's one of those things where like the schedule was put out way back in May. So, we're not, this isn't
It didn't
anything
sneak
new.
up on us.
Yeah, it didn't sneak up on us.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't know. I feel like the group of players, like if we were going to pick 6 teams to be on bye, the majority of them are teams where, it's not a ton of fantasy talent that you're really, really relying on. JT was obviously, many people's consensus number one, but really hasn't performed that way. So I think if you've made it this far in the tournament, then you probably hadn't really been relying on him all that much anyway. You've been able to kind of, for me, it's more so the injuries, these last minute, from this past week. A lot of guys got injured. We've seen it at the quarterback position, and we know that trickles down to some of the receiving court, the tight ends, and even the running backs, the offense in general. We saw some running backs get hurt. So, but really, honestly, it's 2022. Like every week has been like this, where it's just like a new turn. It's something else you got to deal with. So I've been, at this point, like battle tested. We in week 14, like we've already done it 13 times before. So this is just another week, as we kind of crawl our way towards that championship, trying to get our names on the trophies.
Right. Not 13 weeks, but it's been like, because bye week started week 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So it's been like 8 weeks or whatever. But, I mean, like Abby said, kind of this is something you kind of had to have been preparing for. And in reality, you really shouldn't look at it any different than pretty much any other week since week 5, because every time there's been buys, you should have had to fill in those spots, regardless of it being earlier this season in championship week. It's still a situation where players had to be replaced because, you had high-end guys on bye week. I would say if you built your team, and, remember draft season, we were always talking about building your team, how important that was, building in certain ways. If you built your team properly, you should have a fairly good amount of depth. You know, of course, injuries have hit. I don't know if you're the type of player that will hold on to those injured players. Me, I'm personally one that, you know, kind of lets guys go pretty quickly. So, you know, if you typically build your team right, you'll have the type of depth where you probably won't have a guy at the same level as a starter that's on bye, but you'll have somebody that actually still be able to produce you fantasy points. I'm kind of surprised you said you have a team without a tight end, because I know we usually like to kind of get those tight ends. So I'm kind of surprised about that.
Yeah, man. This is. I mean, I had me a week this past week as far as the first round of FFPC. So definitely, you know, fortunate to see all these teams advance. But you know, this is a team that was like, I had Waller. I think I had Logan Thomas, and I had Cole Kmet. So I just, you know, didn't prep.
Ready.
But honestly, I think, you know, looking back at it, I think there was just really nothing on waivers. So of course, I'll go after Conwell and see if, you know, maybe he can fill in, see if Burke's out, maybe his target share is up a little bit, stay up. So we'll see, you know, like I said, I'll try to find that, you know, hidden gem if I don't win him on waivers. But, I mean, kind of getting back to your, you know, other point about, you know, building the team right, and that's kind of like a nebulous term, I think, but I agree with it. And you can have two totally different looking teams with two totally different builds, but have very different things in mind. Because, like, when I look at my teams right now and you look at the teams that advance, because some teams I'm, you know, advanced in the championship, and I'm like, this team, I don't even know, like, does not belong. Like, I feel bad for the teams that got knocked out, and this one is what made it from this league. And then some teams are, like, built strong. So, like, when I look at all the teams that are, like, really built strong, I have some teams where it's, like, the wide receiver depth and talent is just crazy. And I have other teams where the running back depth is just absolutely insane. And I have some teams where, like, I'm really leaning on just star players, and I got guys on the bench who are, like, maybe these high-end handcuffs, who in the right situation, like Samaje Perine, who's carried me literally these last 2 weeks, you know, in the right situation, it may just pop up. So each of those teams, like, one person may argue and say, like, this is how you want to build your team. This is how you want to build your team. In the end, we don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, I don't know how in 2022 you can just, like, draft one or two teams. Like, I really don't like.
Didn't last year's winner only have one team, though?
Yeah, I mean, you know, shout out to them. I mean, like that is doing something that is extremely, extremely difficult. But there's just so much, you know, variance from week to week, and, like, you know, just ignore even all the injury, you know, that you have to deal with. So I find that kind of interesting as far as, like, being able to look at a certain team and think, okay, you know, this team could win if X, Y, and Z happens. This team is set up if everything is kind of maintained. This team is just like this absolute wild card that looks like meh right now, but then a week from now we're gonna look back and say, man, like, that was the nuts. The 3-week nuts, you know.
That's why I always in draft season, I'm always looking when people talk about how, man, I drafted this team, how great it is. I always just kind of just sit back and, like, you really don't know, man. Like, you really don't know, because things can play out so many different ways. We're in week 14 right now, and we still couldn't even tell you how the rest of the season is gonna play out, and we only have 4 weeks left. So how can you decide in August, like, man, this team is gonna smash?
Because you gotta hope, man. You gotta have that
hope.
hope.
I guess what I'm saying is,
you can start with
I guess what I'm saying is, I think the better approach to take when you're drafting teams is, this team is built in a way where if things break properly, it can do well. You know. So even if it's not the players you want the most, you can just see how the way you build it, you know, you give yourself that chance. Because number one, what's going to happen is injuries are going to happen. That's just what happens in football. It's a game of attrition. You know, so you have to build your team. Like, you would take probably a running back that's probably a known, like a Matt Breida. I mean, remember I was kind of talking him up. If Barkley would have got hurt this season, guess what? We would have saw Breida. And if it would have been a serious injury, we would have saw Breida for a while. You know, so, you know, right now, obviously, with hindsight 2020, Breida probably wasn't a great pick. But if you drafted him in August, knowing that you have Barkley, or even if you don't have Barkley, just knowing that Breida has a chance to be something, that's a proper way to build your team.
But guess what? And this is like the fun part of fantasy is, I have, you know, a few teams where I'm holding on to Breida.
Okay.
Because to me, it's a
They
differentiator.
Shut him down.
No.
You think
It's
they
just
may
a differentiator.
He wants to have a
Nobody
wild
is thinking
card.
about nobody's thinking about having or holding a Breida or Matt Breida specifically on their team. You know, even though Barkley could go down at any minute. He's had a huge workload. We were on Barkley from the beginning, but even that being said, I mean, this man is just carrying a rock.
He's had some games where he's kind of had to go out for a little bit.
Taking a beating. So like, imagine going into weeks 15 through 17 where waivers are locked, and you're carrying a Matt Breida, which nobody is thinking about right now. Nobody was thinking about Travis Homer, right?
Right.
And people may still not be thinking about Travis, but nobody was thinking about Travis Homer. Now, what if Kenneth Walker, and this is another thing too, kind of going off on a tangent, like when you're prepping for the playoffs, man, take every injury seriously. Like if they say questionable on a Monday and a Tuesday, just assume that they're out, or at least have prep, or at least be prepared to act. Like, for instance, Kenneth Walker, I don't know if he's going to miss this week. I don't know if he's going to miss 2 weeks. I don't know if he's going to miss 3 or 4 weeks. We really don't know. But, like, the general, like, if you're on Twitter or if you're, like, listening to, podcasts, the general feeling is like, okay, yeah, he got hurt. There was some talk that maybe he could have gone back into the game. He's kind of questionable. Like, it's basically this kind of unknown. We're not sure what's going on. When really we're going to find out very soon that he may miss this week and may miss multiple weeks. So if he misses 3 weeks, who does that leave?
Yeah. I would actually say in all these type of situations, I do this, I look at the worst case scenario, which is he might be gone for the season.
Yeah.
If he's gone for the season, where is the benefit? Like
exactly.
where is the edge had? Because like you're saying, the current feeling or consensus is, he's hurt. It's not too big of a deal. Even if he's not back this week, he'll be back soon.
Yeah, because we want to hope.
Soon enough to where it's worth holding on to him. And I'm definitely not saying you should drop him. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I'm just saying nobody's thinking, let me drop him because there's no point in holding him anymore. Kind of like how you're saying with Cup now. People are dropping Cups. So if people are still having that thought process, the edge then is, okay, what if he actually is never going to come back? Who's the player that actually is going to be the one to kind of benefit from that situation? And like you're saying, and I think we're in agreement with this, for us it's Homer.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're going to talk about waivers, but I know other people are considering DJ Dallas, which I'm definitely not saying that's not the guy. I just don't know, but he is injured. And then they still have Tony Jones, the guy we were on last year that kind of burnt us.
Terrible.
Kind of burnt us. So it's going to be crazy. He's going to be the one to go off. And
or Wayne Gallman. Maybe
Wayne Gallman. So they had another guy on the practice squad, right? Did they have somebody else?
Yeah, that was one of
we saw some guy that we don't even remember his name, but you never know.
But so let's talk about preparing for the playoffs, because y'all kind of talked about that. We'll kind of segue into that a little bit. Like, how exactly are you preparing for the playoffs? Like, are you picking up multiple kickers? Are you considering defenses?
Format is important.
That's what I was going to say. I'll let you start, Abby, but just keep in mind, we're talking about two different things, season long and FFPC, which is totally different playoff formats.
Right,
in FFPC, we're actually in our championship round now.
Right.
Like the game that happens this week is going to determine the champion of that league, while in season long, in most season longs, playoffs don't start till next week. So,
and the other thing about FFPC is in the championship weeks, like, waivers are locked, or in FFC as well.
No, waivers aren't locked.
No.
The tournament, they're locked.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Weeks 15 through 17. So during the tournament money weeks, the waivers are locked. Yeah. So that plays a role, obviously, in terms of like what you want your in roster to look like. You could play it safe and try to you got a Barkley, try to go ahead and get that Matt Breida, so that way you got somebody to fill in.
I would recommend it.
Or you could play it aggressively and say, I don't want to waste it on a handcuff. I'm going to go in assuming that for 3 weeks this roster stays healthy, and then I can find this guy on the bench who can fill in.
If you're not going to waste it on a handcuff, what would you waste it on?
Handcuffs come in so many different flavors is what I'm realizing this year, or as the years go on. Like a guy like KJ Osborne is a nice guy to kind of have.
You consider him a handcuff, right?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I guess instead of just thinking about it traditionally as a running back, why
you're saying any kind of handcuff?
I'm saying any guy who, if given the opportunity, could potentially succeed.
Right.
So sometimes it's just a guy like being in a really good offense who's just like one injury away, or sometimes.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay, that exact situation, but you have Barkley.
Yeah.
If you're having to decide who am I going to You got $1 left. And your opponents have $0. So you know you're going to get this dude.
Yeah.
But you only have one shot, one bullet.
Yeah.
Are you going for Breida, who is your handcuff for Barkley, or are you going for Osborne, who you think – and you don't have Jefferson or Thielen, so it's not even a situation where it's anything that happens with your team, Osborne will come through for you. It's just simply a Hail Mary type pick.
And
it's Breida, right?
In the FFPC, where I only have to start 2 wide receivers, it's probably Breida.
Okay.
It's probably Breida because, just by the nature of it, running backs are more likely to get injured.
So you do prioritize, in this essence, the running back handcuff more than the wild card.
In certain situations, yeah. But, I also have a team where, I have, 2 legit wide receivers, just stud wide receivers, and then I'm just, having running backs carry me. Mm-hmm. They're good running backs, but, it's a struggle. So, in that situation...
What's the struggle?
Because if one of these running backs goes down, I'm done.
Oh,
and
so
I only have 2 wide receivers.
You're really weak at running back.
I have two strong wide receivers, basically an ankle wide receiver, and then running backs that I'm just kind of mixing in here and there.
Do you have a lot of depth in the running back position, or you don't really have?
I do. So in that situation, I may look to say, okay, let me just get a wide receiver,
just in, for
just
injury?
in case, in case an injury goes down in that 15, weeks 15 through 17.
I got you.
But every team's different because you could also look at it if Tyreek Hill goes down and that's my that's my main guy, it's unlikely that any replacement is going to be anything like Tyreek Hill. So I don't go in with the assumption
if Tyreek Hill goes down, get Trent Sheffield.
Well, I'm saying, but at that point, but that's what I'm saying is if Tyreek Hill goes down,
you're not gonna get Tyreek. Yeah, you're not gonna get Tyreek.
So why waste it on a wide receiver replacement there? Instead, maybe go get the running back. So I think you can look at it a lot of different ways. I think you look at it a lot of different ways.
My only argument to that last point you made is, you're not gonna get the Tyreek Hill production, but you gotta replace him with somebody, and you still want to get the person with the highest potential. And you never know who you're gonna go against in these championship rounds. I mean, a couple of my leagues, I'm going against somebody that I don't even know how they even got here. I'm probably going against you in the leagues you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at this is and almost like you were saying, I feel bad for my opponent last week because I'm thinking you could have beat this dude.
But that's part of it. Part of it, when you talk about how am I prepping for the playoffs, to get back to your original question. Mm-hmm. It sounds cliche, but basically the same thing I've been doing from week 1. Week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, which is every single week, twice a week, because we got waivers twice a week. I look at the entire team. I look at everything that's on waivers, and I do a self-audit. And basically, I'm like, man, unless I really need something, if I see a better player on waivers, then I add them. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And the idea with that is hopefully at some point, somebody got frustrated with the Garrett Wilson. I snatched him up. Somebody got frustrated. Mecole Hardman. Remember I was talking about Mecole Hardman the whole time. Yeah. Just snatching him up everywhere. And until he got hurt, he was just killing it on so many of my teams. This is a guy that we hated for years, but, knowing he was in a good offense and they was using him a little bit differently, being able to play a guy like that. And then if I see a guy like that on waivers now, knowing he's about to come off of IR potentially, we'll see if he's healthy, but having him in weeks 15 through 17. So if I'm looking at my waiver and I'm like, man, okay, I picked this guy up. I thought he was going to do such and such, or I thought he was going to be such and such. Situations change. He's not as talented as I thought he was, or he's not performing. Okay, let me look at the next guy and let me just try to figure out, can I make this team better? Can I make this overall roster better? And if you have to do that every single week. Yeah. You got to do that every single week. So that's why it doesn't matter that it's the playoffs. You're doing it every single week. This past week, it was the defenses where I was looking at my defense and I was like, I got New England defense. They legit.
And that's what I was going to say.
I got Cleveland defense looking at Houston, and literally Cleveland defense propelled. I mean, I told you the hit rate.
Yeah, I think it was 26 points.
85% plus of my teams advanced because I had I just made the right, I won't say the right decisions, but fortunate enough because I looked at that Cleveland defense against Kyle Allen specifically, not just the Texans, but against Kyle Allen specifically. You look at that situation and you just felt okay,
And that's the point I was going to say. And I'm assuming most people in these tournaments do this already. Maybe not because I don't see it across the board. But if you don't do this, this is the best piece of advice you're ever going to get. Get your defenses ready when it comes near the end of the season. Get your defenses ready. Start looking at those matchups. Start seeing those little places where you can get those edges, because that could be, like Abby was just saying, that could be the difference between a win and a loss. You know, I mean, you're not going to get 26 every week like Cleveland got, but you'll still be able to get in positions where, I mean, every point counts in these games, man. So it's like, even if you get a defense that just scores you 8 and the defense you had only scored you 5, that's 3 points you weren't going to have in the first place. So, you know, make sure you look at those defenses, try to, and you really don't have to bid much because, again, I'm not seeing it happen across the board. So you can really get like a defense everybody just sleeping on. I don't know if we're going to talk about defense a little later, but you can get a defense everybody sleeping on for $1. And that can be a position on your team that gives you double-digit points.
Let's talk about trap plays for a second because we are going into like the championship weeks where, again, waivers are locked. Let's talk about trap plays, guys like Foster Moreau, where you've been able to plug him in, like the last,
You think he's a trap play?
I think he could be a trap play if Darren Waller comes back.
You're talking about having him on your roster.
Right,
okay,
right.
I got you.
And you've been having him plugged in, like just being serviceable all this time, and then Darren Waller comes back, and then now you can't play him because Darren Waller is back. Let's talk about trap plays. Like, who do you guys see as like a trap play like that where you're able to kind of plug them in, but you're not really sure of the role that they have? Because I also kind of see like Njoku's like Cleveland's tight end situation that way. Like Njoku is back 1 week, he's out like last week. He may be back this week.
I mean, that goes back to Dale's point before. Like you just got to have depth. Like you got to have depth, and you got to play it week to week. I mean, if you want to become a better fantasy player, you want to become more meticulous. You want to become like more in tune with like, you know, churning your roster over and like, you know, really be, you know, building the best lineup that you can, the most optimal roster that you can. The way you do that, look at scores week to week. And you're going to be coming across games where you lost. And then go and look at like the lineup decisions that you made. Look at your kicker and look at your defense. And yeah, sometimes it's fluke. Sometimes it's things that you can't, like you made the best decisions that you could possibly make. But sometimes you'll realize, like, and I think we all realize it more times than not, like, we didn't make the right decision. And yes, it's always hindsight, but man, there was this defense on waivers, sitting on waivers. I knew it was an easy matchup, or I knew he was going up against an offense that turns the ball over, or where they allow a high percentage of sacks and things like that. And those little things where you see like, man, I lost by 2.5 points, and if I would have made this decision, I would have won. Don't focus so much on that specific decision, but take that and say, okay, moving forward, I'm going to really look at my defense. And if I feel like, you know, New England, even though I think they're a good defense and they may have scored 15, 20 points the week before, I feel like this is not that ideal matchup. I'm going to go look and see what is an ideal matchup. Because we talked about it before. Cleveland defense was free across the board. It was free across. I told you, I was like, I'm shocked at how much Cleveland defense I was able to get. And I was able to plug them in because I think we all kind of get comfortable with a lot of our teams that are just doing well. You know, like they're doing well, so let me just ride it out. But you can't get comfortable with that. Like every week you got to think about, okay, man, where can I improve on this team? Like what can I do to get better? You know, because we're gonna make mistakes every single week, but like we really got to learn from those mistakes and try to become better players from those mistakes.
Just to go off on a side note, that comment you just made as far as when you have a good team, you get comfortable. I was just kind of just looking back on the season because everybody knows how crazy the season, but you know everybody across the board had their experiences, and I was just thinking back to how because this season I didn't really have any. You know, I played a lot of leagues, so I didn't have as many leagues I typically am used to that just dominate full season, just like cruise control dominate. It's like this week I worked so much harder, and I grinded so hard, and I like where I'm at in a lot of places now because it made me focus on my team so close, just trying to get it to get better and better. It's like I had a big block, and I was just kind of constantly chipping at, just trying to make it perfect. And I just think back because there's been years in the past I had these great teams, and I'm just cruising like.
Yeah, you just sit back.
Yeah, just probably a waiver pick here, waiver pick there. You know, like even if I don't have the best defense, I got this dope offense. You know, skill player lineup. I don't need to worry about getting new defenses. I get to like the last 2 rounds, L. You know, it's like damn, right? You know, and then you look back at like that great team, you literally got nothing for it. So
I think looking at matchups, like again, anything can change. Like, you know, players get injured on defense, and that really can like change the outlook. But looking at if you're in a home league right now, and like Greg Dulcich is on the waiver, and
They already got Greg Dulcich because we didn't talk about Greg Dulcich.
I know.
They know not to have.
But I'm saying, but he had a stretch where he was like having a few bad games. But like if he
but
somehow,
just like every tight end.
yeah. But if he's somehow on the waivers, like add him because he has 2 matchups against Kansas City coming up. Like so, when I look at certain players and I'm trying to decide between 1 or 2, like looking at a matchup now that we only have a few more weeks left in the season, I think is also another way to get an edge.
And by the way, you haven't spoken much of it, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. Do the same thing with your kickers.
Yeah.
Do the same thing. Get any edge you can. Get that edge. There's kickers where they can be in good matchups, and it's not as easy to find good matchups for kickers as it is defenses. But that just makes you work a little harder. Yeah. And you improve your craft the more you do it. So
speaking of edge, like, are you guys still working the waiver wire on your teams that are kicked out of, or I guess like lost last week in the playoffs, but still move on to the championship week?
I'm not.
Why you ask that question?
I know. You know why he's asking that
Why
question.
you ask that question?
I don't put it out there. I'm not. That's all I'm going to say there.
Look. This is not
because it's technically still open. I just looked at mine.
It's not cheating.
Yeah, it's not. It's technically still open.
It's not a one and done league. So, do I want the winner of this league or the teams that advance from this league that have to see my other teams in the tournament? Do I want to see them at advantage to load up? Yeah. No. So if you got $9 and I got $11, you can best believe that you're likely not getting that play.
I think, and we talked about this before we started recording. And again, I don't do it, but I do see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
So this is what I decided to do.
I got no shame.
I decided that I'm not because I want to be respectful. I'm not going to do it on the first waiver run. I'm going to let them try to get their guys. All right. But on this next run,
son, it's fair game.
On this next run, I'm going after everybody.
I can have what's the grand prize?
500.
No,
I'm okay with.
It's crazy. Yeah. I think I don't do it because there's situations where there's guys like I'm playing. I got a certain amount of money, and my opponent don't have that much money. But then the other guys that are out got all this money, and I don't want them to do it to me. Yeah. So it's almost like I'm trying to make sure I don't put that out there in the atmosphere. That mojo. But I don't see a problem with it, Chris, to answer your question.
I'm not doing it in spite. I'm doing it to help out my other teams.
It's still competition.
It's an edge.
I'm playing against everybody.
It's competition. He's still trying to
in this format.
Yeah.
He's using those teams to defend for his other teams.
Because people don't realize like how competitive.
Right.
I think they know. They gotta know.
I don't think they understand. I'm looking at all teams. I'm like,
are we gonna talk waivers?
Let's talk defenses right quick.
Okay.
Let's talk defenses right quick.
Oh, I'm
who
not
are the
defenses?
Yeah. So who are the defenses that you guys want to take into the championship round? By the time this comes out, the waiver would have run.
So
I ain't tripping. I mean, this is the end of the season anyway. So, I'll let it off. Yeah, so I'll let the chopper fly. I don't care.
All right, good.
In large field tournaments, these defenses should not even be on the waiver. So you have your obvious like the Bills.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. Start with the obvious. The main
Ravens,
top tier guy.
Ravens
First of all, the Cowboys are top tier.
Yeah. Cowboys.
Cowboys. Who else? Ravens. Bills.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who are we still?
Y'all laughed at me with the Ravens, by the way, like on one of our episodes.
But they improved. They added like a bunch of pieces.
Yeah, and they score a lot of points.
Yeah. Who else? Anybody else y'all can think of the for certain defenses?
Patriots are usually not out there, but I'm not really a fan. I'm okay dropping them.
I don't like the rest of their season.
Yeah,
I kind of like the Jets.
Jets should be on
that schedule though, because that schedule might be.
Yeah, but even with their schedule, I think they're just playing so well.
The Chiefs,
they've had some crazy matchups. The Chiefs
should not be.
No, but the Chiefs is not a tier one. That's a waiver.
Mm-hmm. Chiefs should not be on waivers right now. Chiefs should not be. They get Denver twice. Okay, Chiefs should not be on waivers.
Chiefs
and they get the Texans again. They get that's probably the best.
Chiefs is number one for me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not really good at this because there's so many options, and I like a lot of them.
Tennessee is a decent one. You got to wait because they'll play the Texans. Arizona Cardinals.
Cardinals are a good
throughout the year. They've been a kind of a solid defense that'll get you like 5 to 10 points. They haven't I don't think have had any explosive games, but their matchups coming up.
I like the Packers. They got a couple matchups that are coming up that I like.
Yeah.
Really, the best way to look at it is find who Denver's playing against, Texans are playing against, and
Y'all-
try to
y'all
figure
know the
out,
marks.
try to match
Yeah.
up what
Y'all know
defenses
the
are
marks,
going
yeah.
against those teams.
Well, what about like a team like the 49ers where like their defense is really good, but that quarterback situation.
So
Their defense is coming on.
they're a
Here's the
tier
thing,
one
though,
defense,
like,
by the way. They're one we missed.
If they're listen,
That's
like
why
if
they wanna
they
drop
are
him.
having like a bunch of turnovers,
You dropped them.
Oh yeah, I did drop him.
Yeah, you did.
But I didn't want to drop him. Hey, sometimes you got to make hard decisions.
What about Carolina? Carolina started off strong, decent defense, kind of waned towards the end of the
No,
season.
I'm not really looking at them.
So at this stage, just take a tangent. This is where you get this is one of the biggest edges I think when it comes to playoffs, particularly championship week because it's so late in the season. And this is why I think a lot of like great teams lose championships because ideally, if you probably drafted teams that have really good records or that are really good teams, players from those teams, you're probably doing pretty well, okay? Because they're good for a reason. Probably their offense is pretty good. They're scoring points, But those teams, if they're too good, they may look at sitting guys later in the season,
Yeah.
And so those teams, like if the Bills just clinch home field advantage or the Eagles clinch home field advantage, do they sit guys week 17? That's where these just like A.J. Brown, Hurts, Stacks, could potentially leave you just trash. So large field tournaments, you got to have a backup QB. Like you have to have
Go
a
get
backup
Mike
QB.
White.
Don't tell them who to get. Just tell them you got to get somebody.
Go get Mike White.
Yeah.
Like I said, let him chop the fly. Get Mike White.
Yeah.
Consider Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Mike White on the waivers though.
He's out there.
He's out there, bro.
He's out there in every league.
And he's projected low.
But the other thing too is this is where those handcuff situations come in. So it's not just the good teams, but the real edge is targeting those really, really bad teams where they want to go in a player evaluation mode. So Nico Collins, go get him. Go get him. Go get him. Go get him. I would not be surprised to see, Brandon Cooks just not play another down for the Texans this year or maybe even ever. But just go look at the teams that are at the very bottom in the basement, and then just look at the running backs depth chart and see who's one of the younger guys on here, and just kind of keep your eye on them. As soon as you hear wind of something, like Deontay Foreman has not practiced this week.
So you're talking about home league right now, right?
I'm talking about home league.
We can't do that in tournament.
You can. You have till Sunday to do it.
So you're saying pick a guy now.
I'll give you an example of a guy and maybe this is probably not the best example, but an example would be the Carolina Panthers. They're not going anywhere, right? Okay. Deontay Foreman did not practice to start this week. Okay. They may not, they know who Deontay Foreman is. This is a team that's looking for the future. Okay. Maybe they want to see, a little bit in Chuba Hubbard, but really maybe they want to see Blackshear, and we know he's not an in between the tackles grinder, but maybe they want to see him a little bit more. But that's a guy that no one's really thinking about right now. He's currently third on the depth chart, but this team is losing records. So are they going to go out there week 17 or if you play in the week 18, really kind of having some of their best guys out? So that's important. And then also, the other side of that is DJ Moore, that week 17, that week 18, if these guys are questionable, man, be very, very cautious that they just may hold them out.
You switch what you're saying. So are you now saying
I'm saying both.
teams?
I'm saying you got to worry about both ends of that argument. You got to worry about the good players like the DJ
The good
Moores.
teams, really.
No, I'm sorry. The bad teams, you got to worry about the good and bad teams. But on the bad teams, you got to worry about the really good players, the players that they invested in, and you got to worry about, and you also want to consider the young players. So Brandon Cooks, the DJ Moores on a bad team, if you see them questionable, have in the back of your mind that they may not suit up because there's not much, interest in them playing. And at the same side of that, look at a Nico Collins, look at a Blackshear or a Chuba Hubbard that they may suit up.
The only reason I think that would be really difficult for FFPC is because you have to. I mean, you got to hold on to those guys for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
With the hope. Because really this is all hope because. We really can't even say, and it's kind of what I was saying earlier, we really don't even know what teams are going to be the teams to hold out players yet.
But I made this comment way back before the season even started about players on bad teams and later in the season.
Got you.
That as soon as they have
teams that we know are going to be bad.
Yeah, as soon as the player just has a minor injury,
they're done.
They're more likely to sit out. And I actually made that comment specifically about Brandon Cooks. because that was one of the reasons why I was like, I like Cooks, but man, I don't know. He's on a bad team. Slight little injury later in the season, like I could see him not. But then Nico Collins, on the other hand, I didn't want to draft him, but anytime I saw him on waivers, I automatically put a claim in for him. Okay. Because for this very reason, that like now is a time where a player like Nico Collins on a bad team, they're going to want to see what they have in him. Can he be a number one wide receiver? And maybe he can, but they're probably going to want to see that.
Got you.
So I think that's a huge edge as far as the playoffs. And you can find players like this on a lot of bad teams, and then you just got to be really prepared for some of these, teams, the upper echelon teams that potentially may sit somebody.
What other defenses, though? Any other defenses you can think of?
Ooh, man, that's tough.
That we haven't mentioned?
Man,
the Chargers, I think the Chargers have a matchup against the Rams.
I think the Steelers might be an okay setup.
I like the Steelers' actual defense. Yeah. And I think if they really kind of come on, then that's.
Well, they got T.J. Watt back. He hasn't been fully himself yet, but he's getting there. Mm. And Minka Fitzpatrick, he's always going to be an eraser back there.
And what changes things is like injuries happen. Like Lamar is injured. Yeah, we've seen Huntley kind of do well, but Huntley's still a backup QB, and he's a backup QB for a reason. Mm-hmm. So Baltimore going against Steelers, with that receiving corps, with that running back corps, what is their identity to have Huntley run around
and that pass rush for Pitts?
So you can imagine that if Pickett could put up a couple of points, the Steelers defense could really wreak havoc.
Force them to pass where you can just tee off on them.
So as far as cock blocking other teams or preventing other teams from becoming better. I make sure I'm not dropping Steelers defense until until it's Sunday. Yeah. I'm holding on to certain defenses. I mean, I guess I can drop them now, but I didn't want to drop them.
What you waiting on? Okay.
I got you. Certain players teams I didn't want to drop because I didn't want other teams having them.
Yeah.
Got you.
Man,
are we gonna talk about waivers?
Let's talk about waivers for a second.
Let's talk about waivers.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's talk about it because we just had waivers. Right?
So we just had waivers. Let's start with quarterback, and we talked about a few. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We talked about Mike White. We talked about Tyler Huntley. Mm-hmm. Anybody else you can think of?
Yeah, if you're in a 2 QB league or a super flex, go look at Johnson.
Josh Johnson?
Josh Johnson.
Bro,
man,
come on.
Y'all said this last year and the man produced. Go look at Josh Johnson. Okay.
No.
Okay. Just realize every time they laugh, I got to pull a receipt.
Purdy is what you're saying. You're like Purdy. You have low confidence.
Not that I have no belief. I just think Josh Johnson would be a perfect fit in that offense.
Okay.
I really do. Okay. Go back. All I say, look, before you laugh, go back.
Too late.
Go look at his starts with the Jets. Go look at his starts with the Jets.
4 years ago?
No, last year. Bro, last year. Go look at his starts with the Jets. Watch that game. Watch those games. And then you tell me that he's a laughable player or that he can't beat out Purdy.
If that burns me, it just wasn't meant for
nobody's me. Nobody's gonna do that, bro. Nobody's gonna pull out the tape. Okay. Bro, I mean, we believe
it just wasn't.
Wait. What's the time mark right now?
It's time mark. It is 50 minutes.
When I ask for these receipts,
it's championship week. I think Ryan Tannehill might not be a bad option too.
Actually, I was gonna say Tannehill.
He's been running a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Any other quarterbacks?
He hasn't been running as much though. I kind of.
Yeah, you're right. So you're probably right.
Pickett. Pickett is a younger quarterback that could potentially just you can see him.
He's been improving too.
Yeah.
He's been improving.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
On quarterbacks?
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Running backs? Homer.
Travis Homer, I like. If you can figure out whoever the backup RB is for the Saints, and that person may not even be on the roster. Likely and definitely not.
I would think that's Dwayne Washington.
Because I 100%. I don't know what. Yeah, let me go on a tangent real quick.
Go ahead.
Kamara,
We're gonna let you
give Abby the floor.
Oh my God!
Give me the single camera, Chris. Give me the single camera.
Single cam.
Yeah, there you go.
I've heard it. I've heard it all. I've heard it all. Kamara has lost a step. Kamara is not the player that he is. I have never seen a situation where a player with so much talent has been used so incorrectly. They've turned him to an in between the tackles. I'm talking about in between the tackles, A-B gap, right? Yeah. He's not even getting the C gap. In between the tackles, running back on first and second down, and then you have whoever, Mark Ingram, David Johnson coming in on third downs.
Yeah.
You have literally had the playbook on how to use this player efficiently for multiple years. Multiple years. And not only have you had the playbook, but it has been successful for the player, been successful for the offense, and been successful for the team. So what have you decided to do? You say, nah, appreciate that, but we gonna do this.
Yeah.
We gonna run this guy, okay, who is not a grinder or a pounder, in between the tackles, wonder why he's fumbling 1 to 2 times a game, and not at all be creative on a wide receiver corps that is filled with rookies and inexperienced players. We're not going to line him up in the slot. We're not going to have him run routes. No, we're just going to have him just kind of hang out in the flat, get bored, with a quarterback who's trying to prove something and who never wants to look his way. We even call a trick play that is looked like it was meant for Kamara. This man's running down the field 30 yards wide open. The quarterback doesn't even want to look his way. Crazy. I really feel like Dalton has something against Kamara because there's so many times where he's just open and he does not want to throw on the ball. But seriously, though, why is he not being used on third down? Why is he not being split out wide? Why are you not using him in the receiving game? I don't understand it.
It's crazy.
In between the tackles, really? Yeah. Come on. I don't know what the issue is, okay? But what I do get the sense of is that this team is likely going to be eliminated pretty soon here. Weeks 16 and 17, Kamara gets a little nicked up. Yeah. Nah, fam, I don't think I'm good. You know, I think I'm good. I think I need to sit this one out. There's nothing coming out.
That's actually a good point.
We need to figure
Dwayne
out.
Washington, like I said, is the guy.
But Dwayne Washington sucks, man. And every
Asking
time
who the guy is, that's the guy.
But look, he's always like that next guy up on the depth chart. But then they always bring somebody.
Well, guess
in.
who they brought in?
Who?
David Johnson.
Don't say David Johnson. No, stop it. Who they bring in again? Who they bring in?
David.
No, stop it. Stop it. Cut that. Don't even bring it. Don't even put his name on the way.
That's who they brought in, man.
Beep his name.
Yeah, just
Hey,
beep
they
his
brought
name
him in
out.
twice too. They brought him in early in the season.
But
They were
look,
like,
so-
couldn't negotiate. They brought him back.
Well,
So they
Mark
like
Ingram
him.
is going to miss the season. Okay,
Yeah, he done.
Shout out to Mark Ingram. I mean, the man has had a hell of a career. But
Damn,
thank
you
God.
think he's done?
Well, he may not be done, but he's done this
Yeah,
year.
you already put
which
that
is
boy
good.
out there.
Which is good.
They put him out the pasture.
Because nobody really wants Mark Ingram as a
Congratulations.
handcuff. You don't really want to hold
I
on to
got
that.
you. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
yeah.
He
So
might have came back
hopefully-
last year. You say good career.
So
like.
we need to pay attention. This is what we need to pay. We need to pay attention to see if, and they're on bye, so this kind of makes this tough. We got to pay attention to see, especially for home leagues, pay attention to see who they bring up, who they elevate
Well,
from
you're
the
not going
active roster.
regarding this tournament. You're not going to be able to pay
We're not
attention
gonna
to
know. Yeah,
anything.
you're not
So you
gonna
have
know.
to, if you want to go that
You're
route,
not gonna know.
make a guess, and I would guess with Dwayne Washington.
Man, I probably start the other guy over here.
David Johnson?
I probably
the
go
other
David
guy.
Johnson over here. None of the, I guess that situation maybe just one to avoid, I guess, because none of that looks good.
All right. So
Any other running backs?
Any other running back? We talked about Travis Homer. Any handcuff, Joshua Kelly, I see out there a lot. He should not be out there. He really should not. This goes back to us kind of getting comfortable. Like, you get comfortable. We've seen Saquon play the entire year. We've gotten comfortable. But nobody's talking about who his handcuff is or who to pick up.
Yeah, all the handcuffs, yeah.
Everybody's getting comfortable with Eckler, And I think people have, we had Josh Kelly early in the year, and then he got hurt, and then everybody got excited about Spiller, and he just looks garbage at right now. Yeah. But now, it's been Kelly, the one that's been backing him up. But we've gotten comfortable in seeing just Eckler stay healthy.
Yeah.
Man, it just takes that one play. And then what we're going to be looking at, with Josh Kelly. Remember what happened with Justin Jackson last year, okay?
Yeah.
Same thing with Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon. Everybody was getting comfortable. We started seeing Samaje Perine get – man, I'm telling you, I do not drop players like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All those handcuffs,
you can't drop
really,
those players. Yeah,
all
you
those,
cannot drop those.
One exercise, if you do want to do an exercise that will benefit you, go through all the teams' depth charts and just see who the backup running back is. Just see who the number 2 guy is. And if that number 2 guy is injured, then guess what? Look at the number 3 guy. Somebody like the Cardinals. I know we've talked about him before, but Keontae Ingram, I think his buzz has totally died. But he is the number 2 running back for the Cardinals. And with the workload they have given Connor, if Ingram gets even 75% of that, he'll be a major factor for you. So just look at all these teams and just kind of just see. And, I mean, if you look at the Texans.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to be. Dare Ogunbowale.
Right.
Yeah, it has to be him. I know we all, not all, because I really would. But
Well, the only other option is
Ben-
Rex. It's not Eno.
Yeah, it's not Eno.
It's not Eno.
Eno
Rex
hasn't
is
seen
banged
anything.
up, I think.
He's concussion. I think he's coming back soon. Though.
Yeah. So Rex or
But Dare is a
Yeah.
good because Dare actually has juice
Yeah.
too.
But remember this, and people can laugh about Rex, but Rex had that game last year that was like 26, 27 points.
I know.
And it was a perfect.
Trust me, I know. I
But
watched
look,
every play.
But this is the thing about it. Like, this is the thing about it. And you can say, okay, well, did you have the foresight to hold him? Did you have the foresight to start him? Remember, that game was against the Chargers. Whoever was the Texans, Mark Ingram or David Johnson, whoever got injured, like they didn't really have a lot on the roster. But that game was against the Chargers.
Well,
the
a lot of
Chargers
players
were
out with
just as
COVID.
bad. Yeah, the Chargers were just as bad against the run as they were last year. So the Texans play, or not the Texans, but you can look at like teams like that. Who's playing the Chargers and go look at that team's backup, for like the next 3 weeks and see if there's a backup on that waiver. Because whoever's playing the Chargers, they're gonna be able to run against them. Yeah. They can't stop the run. That deep run defense is tissue paper, So you can kind of have some of the foresight to look at these things ahead, or like we're gonna be playing the Chiefs. Chiefs are gonna outscore us. Like that's why I like the idea of a Dare, potentially, because if Rex is out and Dare's be getting an extended look,
Pierce
like
gets hurt.
he's in
the
that
way he
passing
runs,
game.
too.
Yeah, he's in that passing game. Like he's gonna get like 6 or 7 catches.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be like quite a bit. You
Right.
know.
Another waiver consideration for running back, and right now we're kind of getting into the strictly handcuff.
Yeah.
So there's not really any guy other than Homer that we actually see this week of coming in and actually being able to produce a fair amount of points. And Homer, we don't even know for sure. We're just kind of taking an educated guess there. But also Jordan Mason, because I think we saw he is the guy the 49ers put in after C-Mac. Now, whether he'll be the guy if C-Mac gets hurt, we don't know. But he might carve out a role similar to what Elijah Mitchell carved out, where he actually has flex consideration. And that's definitely somebody you want to get, especially if he's free. But other than that, I don't really see any other big running backs.
It's just important to like be aware of these guys, because if you're aware of these guys, as soon as you get that Schefter tweet, like Schefter tweeted today, or maybe it was Rapper, one of the two, tweeted today, Dante Foreman didn't practice. So as soon as you see that tweet, your first thought is not like, oh, let me go look at all my Dante Foreman shares and figure out what I need to do. Your first thought is like, Chuba Hubbard, Black Shear, let me go see who's not added. Let me add them immediately. That's 2 seconds right there. Boom. If you're in your home league, you add those players right away. And if you got to drop them, you drop them. Unless you have like an elite kicker, drop your kicker, and then roll with and then pick up a kicker like last minute when you need him.
I would extend that exercise even further and say, what I do is whenever I get I see those type of tweets, this player is limited in practice, question mark, didn't practice. I'll literally say, okay, in my mind I'll switch to, okay, if this player is out, what am I doing? And I do it so much that in most cases, honestly, it's a waste of time because the guy actually ends up playing, so it's all irrelevant. But I just like to keep myself prepared. I like to stay ready with it because a lot of times people are sleeping at the wheel. And so many times people sleep because the tone people get from these blurbs really make people feel a certain way about situations. If the tone is like, oh, they're just resting, the team says it's not that big of a deal.
And they really don't know.
Right. Then everybody's like, oh, don't worry about it. He's going to play. You saw the tweet. Like people be like, a tweet is the forecast or the fortune telling of what's going to happen. When in reality, you want to take the facts. The fact is the dude didn't practice or he was limited. That's all we know. From there, just kind of be prepared.
And if you have that mindset, you just feel so much more confident and comfortable with putting these guys in your lineup, as opposed to just sort of kind of just waiting and saying, oh, man, I don't know. Is he going to produce? Is Samaje the guy? Like, it's easy now to say, oh, well, if Mixon is out a third week, oh, yeah, Samaje's an easy play. Last week, it was easy to put Samaje in your week 1 lineup.
I got a question for you.
But that first week, I guarantee there were plenty of people out there who were looking at Samaje versus some other, like, wide receiver 3s, RB2/RB3s, and not necessarily sure, like, if they should put him out in their lineup. If you think about these things early, I'm telling you, you feel so much more confident about getting these guys in your lineup. But you got to have an idea. Like, you got to understand, okay, we just mentioned this guy Blackshear. I don't know who that is, or, like, what does he look like? Like, go back and watch his film right now. Go to YouTube. Google highlights. Google film. Watch him. Get a good understanding of what he is. And then, based on the matchup, based on who's out, you may or may not feel comfortable starting him over a guy that you would normally start him over.
I
Or
got a
that you
question
normally
for
wouldn't
you.
start him over.
How you might not knowing you probably are totally ignoring the situation, but I'll put you on the spot. What are you doing with the Jaguars backfield?
Because Henderson is, I've already told you I dropped Henderson, but because Henderson is questionable, he's kind of like basically he's not on any of my rosters right now. Also because I think, we saw, and yes, Henderson had just gotten there, so he had only been with the team for about a week or so. So that situation is, you could say, is somewhat fluid. But Hasty didn't look bad.
Hasty didn't look bad.
He looked good.
He
actually looked good.
didn't look
looked
bad
good.
in the. So that's another guy that
So
should
are you
not be on
holding on to
waivers.
Hasty?
Oh, absolutely holding on to
Okay,
Hasty.
that's what I wanted to know.
Absolutely holding on to
So
Hasty.
for you, Hasty
but I'm
still-
not holding on to Darrell Henderson, and I don't see him on enough waivers.
Got you. Hasty is the guy for you to hold on to. Hasty just didn't do much last week, which is interesting to me, especially with ETN going to the game limited and questionable because of that foot injury. So it just makes me wonder, what was that about? Was Hasty really a guy they really liked, or was it just because ETN was hurt, he was the last man standing and just
I'm
had
glad
to play
you
him?
brought up the Jags. Okay, so this is another situation where we all got this hope. Okay, Trevor Lawrence, he was able to kind of come back and kind of play through it. We don't know if he's going to play this week.
Right.
Yeah.
So in your
example.
mind, Trevor Lawrence is out this week.
That's a
okay,
great
so
example,
if Trevor
actually.
Lawrence is out
Great,
this
great
week,
example.
who is the backup?
Yeah.
Okay, so then based on who the backup is, not only am I like, okay, if you're in a 2 QB league, do I need to
CJ
pick
Beathard,
up
by the way, is a backup.
Not only if I'm in a 2 QB league, do I need to go ahead and get CJ Beathard, or if my opponent has Trevor Lawrence, I need to go get CJ Beathard.
There you go.
But
there you
but
go.
it's not just that. It's a couple different things. Now that extends to, okay, Christian Kirk. Do I got to worry about Christian Kirk?
Yeah.
Do I got to worry about Ingram? Okay.
Zay Jones.
What has CJ Beathard done in the past? And this is where, like, I need to go back, like, and look at, like, CJ Beathard games and look at his game logs, because some of these guys do have a tendency towards.
He was a big Kittle guy.
Yeah, he was a huge.
He was a
That's
big
when Kittle had
guy.
his monster games.
Yeah.
But like, remember when White took the starting job? What was the first thing we said? Everybody said,
Check down to the back.
check down to the running backs, right? So what is CJ Beathard's tendency? And it's a new offense, so yeah, things are going to change. And, it's not maybe potentially apples or oranges, but those things matter. So like, if it's CJ Beathard, like, you don't want to be Sunday morning like thinking like, oh, it's CJ Beathard, like, and not have even considered whether or not I'm starting Kirk or not, or whether or not I've considered starting Ingram or not. Because to me, I agree with you. Like, if CJ Beathard is in, yes, it was with San Francisco. Yes, it was Kittle, a completely different team, coordinator, head coach, etc. Tight end. But yeah, I'm liking Ingram a little bit more.
There's a path there that you see.
I'm liking Ingram a little bit more.
Yeah, it's an easy connection.
And then the converse to that is, like, we didn't talk about defenses playing the Jags down. Okay, so now
the Titans are playing the Jags.
So now a defense playing the Jags.
Yeah.
Now they look a little bit more enticing. And guess what? The Titans. Remember we talked about the Titans. Okay, hold them because they're playing the Texans. Now they look a little bit more enticing because they're playing the Jags.
Yeah.
Maybe a Trevor Lawrence-less Jags.
That's why
and
they're
the
good.
Texans.
That's why they're a good defensive pick.
Yeah.
waiver
So
pick.
like those things, like, I mean, that's like these questionable tags, man. Like, okay, like, let everybody else sleep on them. This is where you can kind of get.
All right, so real quick, let's move to wide receivers real quick. Any wide receivers? Because I got a few.
Well, I think DJ Shark seems like
DJ Shark's probably
top,
number one
he was the
consensus
top,
wise.
Yeah. Marquise Goodwin, man, Seattle, like he. I mean, like he has games where like he shows up every now and again, and I think if you're in a pinch, he's not someone that like you should just overlook. But Shaheed, New Orleans.
No, they're on bye.
No, for the championship.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a possibility.
That's a dynasty guy for me. I feel like all dynasty teams should try to get up Shaheed.
Yeah.
He's talented. Speed.
Yeah.
Remember when he first got on the scene this season, his first 2 touches were touchdowns.
Yeah.
One was a return, one was like a screen, took it to the house.
Yeah.
So he got that breakaway
Boy,
speed.
fast.
He honestly is starting his career off. Let me not say that because people are gonna be like, man, he's tripping. But I was gonna say he's starting his career off like those high-end Tyreek Hill type guys, Antonio Bryant, that just they're specialty guys first.
Yeah.
But you just see they have this breakaway ability, and then the offense just figures out a way to give them the ball more and more,
Yeah.
and end up becoming a thing.
I love the separation at like the catch point, or like when he's like running deep and he just finds a way to just sort of kind of just separate,
Get a
just
little bit of
tad
space, yeah.
and catch the ball in clean space.
Yeah.
You like guys like that?
wide receivers I like, and I'll just rattle off a few. Isaiah Hudgens for the Giants, who was a former Bills draft pick not too long ago. A young guy, another dynasty guy I think you should consider. Corey Davis. Mike White was peppering that dude, man.
Yeah, Corey Davis looked good.
He's looked good. Yeah, Corey Davis looked great.
He looked good.
He looked good last year when we were chalking him up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
He got banged up a little bit this season.
He just came back 2 weeks ago. No, not 2 weeks ago. Last week he came back.
Yeah.
So, he's still getting his legs under him. Chris Moore. That's my kind of a secret guy that nobody's talking about.
Nobody's talking about
Nobody's talking. And I got a few reasons.
I agree with that.
Not just the last few weeks, but the fact that Davis Mills is coming back. Davis Mills and him had a slight connection.
He looked good. Yeah, that was that one Philadelphia game where Cook was out, Collins was out, and everyone was like, who are they gonna throw the ball to?
Chris Moore.
He looked decent, he looked decent.
I mentioned him not too long ago, but Trent Sheffield.
Yeah, that's the guy.
And you know what?
Why though specifically? Because Waddle, we don't know if Waddle's gonna play.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
We don't know who Waddle's gonna play.
I feel like he's the ultimate wide receiver handcuff.
We don't know if Waddle's
I think he has
gonna play.
the biggest upside hand because if you take Waddle or Tyreek out and put him into that role, because he has the ability to go deep. Yeah. So he came to Miami from San Fran with McDaniel. Yeah. So he understands the offense. They probably trust him. So I think he's a guy to consider.
He's looked good.
Quez Watkins actually got hurt last game, but if you look at his game log, his last 4 games, he's actually been doing
with Goddard out. That's been the guy that's kind of like taking over some of the target share.
So with that point, maybe Goddard coming back next week, he won't be as great, but just somebody to consider. Anybody you could think of?
Yeah, man. If Mecole Hardman is out there, you've seen the Kansas City wide receiver corp over the last few weeks not really do much. And you saw what he did when he was in there. I'm not saying that he's going to come back and do the same thing, but if he's on the waiver in your home leagues, if he's on the waiver in like some of these large field tournaments, like go get that guy because I don't know what injury he had. He had some abdominal injury, but his 4 weeks is up. He'll be eligible to come back next week. Okay, so if you grab him now, or if you have him on your team, just hold, man. Don't drop him. Just hold, because that is a Patrick Mahomes offense, and we have not seen any wide receivers really take over. And then we saw teams really kind of start to try to take away Kelsey last week. They took away Kelsey. Kelsey really didn't do much last week. Mahomes, I don't know how Mahomes produced last week. I don't know who he was throwing the ball to, but he found a way through his running backs, through sprinkling a couple of wide receivers here or there, getting everybody involved. But I really think that they're missing the talent of Mecole Hardman. And, Kadarius Toney, the ultimate wild card joker play. I don't know who's going to come back first. I don't know who's going to see more playing time. But this offense is screaming, man, please give me a wide receiver with just natural born talent that we can just tell, go run this route, get him on this screenplay, get him on this end around, use him in the red zone, get him open looks, get him down the field looks that could really explode down the week.
Let me ask you a question, and I'll ask you a question and also make a statement about something else. But my question with the point you're just making right now just kind of hit me. Do you think that opens the door slightly for CH to come back and have some relevancy?
No.
If he can be a pass catcher.
Pacheco has filled that position.
No, I'm not talking about being. I'm not talking.
No.
I'm not talking about being the running back. I'm talking about filling a void of being that, catch the ball in the flats, short range catch the ball.
You don't think
that's been McKinnon, but I would say that was.
Isn't McKinnon hurt? Oh, McKinnon's not hurt.
McKinnon looked actually pretty good last game.
Okay,
but I would say that was literally my thought process behind drafting CEH from the get go.
Right.
And then remember they signed McKinnon, and that's what I was like. Cannot draft anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so now my statement, and I guess I'm talking to the audience. I think wide receivers that you should try to do a little bit of research on and kind of figure out where you want to plant your flag is the Rams wide receiver room and the Bears wide receiver room, because there's opportunity in both those teams. Yeah, the teams suck. Yeah, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, the Rams suck. The Bears don't suck, obviously. Yeah. Not anymore. Well, but yeah, they're not passing games that you're too enthusiastic about. But with that being said, neither of them have a wide receiver one that you can think of in your mind right now that you're confident in.
I love the Bears call. And I don't know if y'all watched the game, but Claypool, I don't know if he came back afterwards, but I remember there was a catch I think it was a catch and a fumble.
Yeah.
And he really, it looked like he just like hurt himself.
Yeah.
Like,
He
hurt his
like
knee or
fell
something.
awkwardly.
And I don't know if he came back.
I don't know if he came back
And
either.
they're on a bye, so we may not hear much at all.
Right.
But he may not even play the rest of the season.
That's
They
what
just
I'm saying.
traded.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
So
I love the Bears.
somebody
call.
is there.
Yeah. Maybe it's
So-
maybe Equinemius St. Brown.
Saint-
We see
yeah.
him.
Is Dante Pettis still there?
Dante Pettis. I don't believe in Dante Pettis.
Yeah, I don't either. Oh, Byron Pringle's still there.
I actually like Equinemius St. Brown. Remember, there was
I like him
a
too.
while there where he was just kind of picking up. That's actually
Man,
a good call.
look,
That's actually a good call.
The reason I like Equinemius St. Brown because I know he's probably looking at his brother over there in Detroit like, man, what the hell?
Or his dad is
I'm the
like,
big
bro,
brother.
what
Yeah,
the hell?
like, what you doing?
Like, what the hell? Like, your little brother showing you out, man.
Yeah, man, shoot, do something. Like they get with the stick, do something. Golly. So and
No,
again,
I actually love the Bears call. man.
right.
I love
And the
Bears
Rams,
call.
don't sleep on the Rams too, because Tutu Atwell is finally starting to get playing time, and he's
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah,
So
super
if you
fast.
saw last week, one play he did a deep route,
Yeah.
caught a ball, touchdown.
Yeah.
He has the ability. He's almost has that Deshaun Jackson in him a little bit. If they decide to use him,
He's had a couple. He's been getting a couple targets here
is
and
his
there.
name Bradley Sewell or something like that? The other wide receiver that was getting a little bit of work for the Rams last week. Those are the only guys they got.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I had no clue what you're talking about.
It's crazy. I was doing a deep dive on it, that's why I don't know his name. But he's the only other. He's the guy that got. A-Rob is gone. Cup is gone. Van Jefferson is there, of course. So obviously,
No, he's not a one. No. They're
right.
forcing it to him, but he's not.
And
really a one.
Skoranek, however you say it, he hasn't really just been doing much like he was.
Yeah, I
They-
had hopes, but
I think
Yeah, I
they're
had
starting
hopes
to activate Lance McCutcheon, the preseason guy.
Yeah, he's been hurt. He's been hurt. So hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, well,
And
maybe
they
they'll start
and
using-
they brought up your tight end darling from last year, Harris.
I think they're switching to wide receiver though, right?
Yeah, they've been playing him a little bit at wide receivers. So
It's too late for
he's not-
FFPC
yeah.
because they play tomorrow, but
Yeah.
for a season long, just look at that because again, man, it gets tough. Injuries happen, man. You might find somebody that can give you a 15 to 20 point week just
Yeah.
because he's the option that they had.
Yeah.
And they're going to be playing from behind every week. And another last point before we move on, he's going to have that. Whoever it is, they're going to have that rapport with the backup quarterback because they've been practicing together.
Yeah.
So they know each other well compared to like what Stafford who wouldn't know them at all. You know.
And in home leagues, people are going to drop Kyron Williams at the Cam Akers 2-touchdown game. I'm telling you, this is one of those teams that's a bad team. They're going to want to start evaluating talent.
Yeah.
Cam Akers,
He's out. Yeah,
he's going to be out for some reason,
Yeah,
okay? And it's going to be the Kyron Williams show. And it's just going to be like, it may just literally just be just week 17, okay? And I don't know who they're playing, but go look at who they're playing. If you feel like that's a decent matchup and this is a guy who can catch passes and he's going to be giving the majority of the work, like, those are guys that like will randomly win championships. And while your opponent who's had this dominant team who's just been killing people week after week after week and then gets to week 17 and then you feel like you're running up against this buzzsaw and then his players start sitting or resting in the third and fourth quarter, now you're going to have a player that's getting like 80% of the touches. So, if you see him drop, pick him up.
And you're kind of alluding to a point. Those, and we're talking now home leagues right now.
Yeah.
Those week 17, and even I guess tournament, those week 17 or the last week games, some wild stuff can sometimes happen, man. Some real funky, wild. People make weird lineup decisions because of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Guys are rested, guys are hurt, whatever. So just if you get there, man, anything can happen.
You don't need a kicker. But
This guy's proving you do not need a kicker.
You don't need a kicker.
Tight ends, I know we talked about Conku. Any other tight end? Bellinger. Conku and Bellinger are my two main guys. Any other guys y'all can think of?
That's it, man.
Those are the two main ones, and you probably should have picked them up last week. But
Who?
Taysom Hill in your home leagues, I think is a good guy to go and get. I actually started him in an FFPC, got lucky. Started him in like a home league, got lucky. But one of those situations where like Dalton can get hurt at any point, and like if Dalton gets hurt, I don't think Winston is healthy enough to play. So
He
the reason
says he's healthy though.
Well, there's some question about that.
Remember, he was mad that he's like, I lost my job to
shouldn't lose my
injury.
job to
Yeah, I shouldn't lose my job. Insinuating that he's now healthy enough to get his job back.
Well,
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so if Dalton goes out, maybe we see Winston, but there's that small chance that you see Taysom Hill. I like the idea of being able to start a quarterback in my tight end flex.
Let me ask y'all
that's
a
just a guy
question.
just to kind of, you don't have to pick him up this week because they're on bye, but like
Let me
afterwards.
ask y'all a question, both of y'all. This is a total, you can say tangent, but same subject. What do you think the Saints are going to do at quarterback next year?
I have no idea, but they got to do something.
Because Winston signed a 2-year contract.
Yeah, man.
They could probably bring back Dalton. They could bring back Winston. They could draft. I mean, they have a lot of different options.
So you think they would consider bringing back Winston?
I think they have to get a quarterback in the draft. Listen,
they don't have to.
They have to.
No,
man.
I don't think like you need to waste on a.
Okay, I guess the real question is: do y'all feel like they have to address the quarterback position next year at all, or y'all think they can go in status quo? Like,
no,
I don't think they're not winning the championship regardless. So why waste a? Because unless you have one of those top draft picks, don't. I think they made reach decisions. On a quarterback.
I feel like the decisions the Saints front office has made, they've made it as if they have a team that's a piece or two away. Like, I do feel like they feel like they might be.
I think if they solve the quarterback situation, they're not far.
Right? No.
I mean, with the type of draft picks they gave away and the type of contracts they
don't make me go on this tangent away. This offense has been atrocious
because of the quarterback situation.
No, not because of the quarterback situation. They cannot run the ball at all. They cannot run the ball at all.
Remember, they drafted Trevor Penny, and he just came back last week.
But that's still a rookie, and he was. And it wasn't like he was like this extremely highly graded, tackle. Or was he a guard or tackle? I can't remember.
Left tackle, actually. Yeah. I think he was pretty highly rated, but I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. But my point is, they can't run the ball. Okay, they can't run the ball. They have shown no, ability to be able to run the ball. And the offensive play calling, when you have a Kamara. And this is what you do. Well, to me, makes zero sense.
They just lost their starting running back.
No, I don't think they have zero. I think they say what?
They just lost their starting running back.
All right, whatever.
So the backup Kamara may be able to do something now. Finally. Okay, so I think that's it. Kickers, we've ignored kickers, right?
So we're getting towards the end of the time, but I think the next time we talk, we're going to be talking playoff challenge, right? Because next time. Our next episode should be after the championship round.
Well, good luck, everybody.
I think we should talk about the playoff challenge.
No good luck. No good luck to any of you.
Do we want to do a team?
So you give me some of your money.
Do we want to do a team before the playoff challenge? Do we want to pick a team live
on the show? We can.
Live on
air. By the way, let's update people on the teams. We have two teams we drafted, right? Yeah. One of them is doing great.
Yeah. So
other one barely missed the playoffs.
Yeah, our dynasty team.
We got 3 teams. The dynasty team too. Then.
Yeah, the first to 15 team.
The dynasty team. I don't know what's going on with those standings. I can't figure it out, so I stopped trying.
I have no idea how you get fantasy points.
I don't know how it works. Just put it like this.
I just know we're in the playoffs.
We're in there. We're competing. I don't even know when the playoffs start because it's not starting this week, right?
Week 15. I think.
Okay, whatever. Somebody explain us how the FFPC.
My first dynasty league. Works. I'm ranked number one in points. Shout out to the hard way. They're probably laughing.
You're number one in points?
Yeah, they're probably they're laughing because you can have this shit. You can have this shit.
Okay.
You're number 1 points. Josh Allen, Tua.
We took over.
I actually had Cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got Eckler on that team.
So you think you're gonna take it this season?
I mean, the Cup injury is hurting.
It hurt.
Cup injury hurts.
Make some moves, man.
Well,
make some moves like we talking about now. You can fill it up.
Yeah. But as you're looking at self audit, okay. It's been definitely an up and down year.
Wait. I want to let people know about the team.
All right.
The team that we
doing
drafted.
Our teams. Oh, you're talking about the first
15?
Yeah, the first 15 team.
We're doing like our.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about my team.
Come on now. First to 15 team, we're in the championship game
this week, actually. We are not a 1 or 2 seed. Our record wasn't the best, and we didn't have top points.
No, but we grinded.
We're number 1 team. It says right there, number 1 versus 4.
We're the number 1 team? We're 4, bro.
If it says 1 versus 4, we're 4.
Look, it says right there, we're number 1. Look.
How y'all looking at the same screen and both of y'all are looking at seeing different things?
We are number 1. I don't know how to do
We're number 1? No way. Can I see it? How are we number 1? We're not number 1, bro.
I swear. Look.
How we having this argument on air?
We're number 1 too.
No way. No, we're not number 1. Look at the standings. We can't be number 1 if we're not the first in the standings.
The playoff bracket says we're number 1.
Playoff bracket is broken. Yeah. FFPC fixed that.
Yeah,
so I say that to say that we have to actually win this week to make that team get in the tournament. And I don't remember what are the players on that team, just so people can remind people that our draft. Or whatever.
So right now, our starting lineup looks like Jalen Hurts.
Don't tell you the starting lineup because we're still trying to figure it out. Just say the main guys, man.
I'm gonna go. I'm just
Don't
gonna
say
go
the
in
start
order.
because we still have some questionable decisions to make.
All right. Like the thing that really propelled us to the playoffs.
There
is
you go.
really
He doesn't
Yeah.
want to give our opponents the
Yeah,
advantage.
nah, man.
having
Start a
Jalen
lineup.
Hurts,
Don't let them know your
Josh
next move.
Jacobs,
Josh Jacobs.
Josh
helped us.
Jacobs.
Oh, remember?
and then
Wait. Go
also-
back. Remember, this was like
We
Josh Jacobs.
deliberated over Josh Jacobs.
No, y'all deliberated on it. It was an 8th round, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't feel
After
comfortable
the
about it
fact, you
either.
deliberated too.
I didn't feel comfortable. We were in the 8th round, and I'm like, man, Josh Jacobs is in that 8th round. Like, bro,
Oh,
this is
man.
the 8th round. We cannot pass.
Yeah.
They were like, oh man, I don't want Josh Jacobs.
But that's how it be sometimes, though. That's how it be.
Yeah.
That ends up making your
Yeah.
team. That ends up making your greatest team because if we were high on him, we would have drafted him a lot
Yeah.
earlier, and then our team wouldn't be as
That's,
strong.
that's
so
what we learned. That's what
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned this year is the diversification. Like sometimes, like the value, you just gotta take it.
Also, sitting on D Hop is really paying off, man. Like,
Yeah.
look,
I remember when we
he's
made
come
that
back.
decision on air. Like we were like, it's just 6 weeks. He'll be back.
Yeah,
and
from
when he'll be back, he'll be healthy.
Yeah.
and he'll still be D-Hop. So it's not anything where he got to work back for anything. So that did work out for us. Like I was alluding to a second ago, we have some lineup decisions we have to make that we're not quite comfortable with at the moment. So opponent, just know you kind of have the edge right now because we kind of in
Questionable.
flux.
Let me go
But we
look
gonna
at their team right
No, what do we
quick.
get for waivers? Check out the waivers.
we gonna get there.
Waivers pass, right? Oh, we got 2 to 3 minutes before waivers. All right, while waivers talk.
No. I don't know.
Waivers is
over.
dumb, bro.
Who do we get chart?
Oh boy. And they're loaded. The team we're playing is loaded. It's
I
loaded.
told you.
It's loaded.
I told you. It's
They
all
got
right
Pat
though.
Mahomes.
You gotta have faith, man. You gotta
They
have
got
faith.
Derrick Henry. ETN is their second running back.
This is crazy. We doing
They
this
got-
on air too.
They got Kelsey.
Woo! They got the stack.
Lockett. Tyler Lockett, who's been
Lockett.
hot
I bet
lately.
he's probably gonna end up on a winning championship.
Yeah. T. Higgins.
Brothers, we gotta just stay
This is
strong.
just their starting lineup. Like, I ain't even got to the bench yet.
Look at our
maybe
team.
this
Look,
isn't-
look at our team. Look at
I
our
ain't
bench.
worried about
Do
that.
we have our
No, I
our
bench-
waiver guys yet?
No, I
Denver,
bench sucks. Yeah.
Denver's good against.
Know what I'm saying? As the waivers come through,
Yeah. We did get sharp.
we got Sharp. Okay, he's going
it's
there a
over.
lot. Oh, we
It's
good.
over. It's
We
over.
good.
It's over.
It's done. Anyway,
All right, guys. That's our episode this week.
nothing to worry about.
Please
Man.
like,
Man, hold on.
subscribe.
That's that feeling when waivers hit, you be like, man, I had $1 left. I just need this one guy.
I just need one hit.
I just need this one guy. And you see him? We done.
We're out.
All right.
Done.
Stay ready, man. Let's go.